Hi, it's Stephanie. Thank you so much for taking the time today to listen to another episode of Unwritten. And I'm super excited to have Rhonda Kremske here. She is a certified health coach and she helps women. Well, maybe she helps men too. We'll get into that uh, through their health. And she's lost 140 pounds and she's been able to keep it off. So if anything, we're just going to listen to her story and we're going to follow her steps. But also, I just want to get into the ins and outs of our bodies, how we can heal, and how she helps people heal, because I know you've helped lots of other people on their weight loss journey. And sometimes it's just really, really hard to lose that weight. And I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit more about how you got into becoming a certified health coach.
All right. Well, once I lost my weight for the final time, and I do say the final time because I have been a lifetime yo-yo dieter. So I have gone up and down in my weight over 100 pounds two other times. And unfortunately, in the past, every time that I would lose the weight and I'd hit my goal weight, I would just start putting the weight back on, and I wouldn't only gain back what I had lost, but I would gain more. And so it's just been a lifelong battle. I was actually seeing a nutritionist, and she was recommending some things. She was having me, and I've always been a rule follower. So whatever plan it was that I was doing, I was always doing exactly what I was told, but I never really understood why I was doing what I was doing. And that, I think, is what has made the biggest difference is I finally have learned how to properly fuel my body and a way that is a sustainable lifestyle versus a quick fix to lose the weight. And so I was seeing this nutritionist. She's a great person, very wise, but what she was telling me to do was not working. And so I went to see my functional medicine doctor, and I was just practically in tears. I felt broken. It was the first thing I thought of every morning when I stood up out of bed is just, first of all, I had to acclimate myself to the pain I was experiencing with being as big as I was. It was the thought of, oh, this isn't working. What am I going to do now? What's coming next? What diet am I going to be on? Like, that's just what consumed me.
Like
And
every day,
so
that was your, like every
every day,
morning. Yeah.
every day. And, when I went to bed at night, it was the last thought on my mind. It was the first thought on my mind when I woke up in the morning. And it consumed me. So I was either being consumed with the diet that I was following, or I was being consumed with going off the rails because I knew my next diet was coming. And so I was trying to eat everything I could that I knew I'd no longer be allowed to eat. So I was an extremist. I was an all or nothing. So anyhow, I saw my functional medicine doctor, and I just basically like cried out to her. I said, I just feel broken. This has been my whole life. I cannot keep going on like this. I'm doing everything this nutritionist is telling me to do. It is not working. I'm not even losing weight now. Maybe I'm at the point where I can't even lose weight. I just felt hopeless.
Mhm.
And so, what the nutritionist at the time had me doing was juicing, doing nothing but organic fruits and vegetables. And my functional medicine doctor said, "You're really doing this backwards. You're eating nothing but carbohydrates and sugar, and you're not getting any good healthy fats or protein." And she said, "You need to reverse that." And so, anyhow, she gave me some other lifestyle tips about drinking enough water, making sure I was getting sleep, moving my body, these different things that we all hear about, but I didn't really know how to apply. And she just gave me some direction, and I took it, I ran with it. I started reading more books, educating myself more on what I consider now the proper human diet, and started following it and started losing the weight. And the big difference for me was that while I was losing weight this time, during this time period, was I didn't focus so much on the scale. I did weigh myself, because I feel like the scale is important. It's our first line of defense. It's a daily accountability for me, and I still to this day do that. But I didn't let it dictate whether or not I was going to continue to follow it. I just kept trusting the process and trusting that what I was doing was the healthy approach. And it's these kind of mindset shifts that made the difference to really make this a lifestyle. So it's been over 4 years now that I've been able to maintain this weight loss. And that is the longest I've ever gone because typically by the time I'd hit my goal, I'd start gaining in the past. So I would say that, it's just been a complete 180 as far as the direction of, I no longer wake up in the morning stressed out over what to eat. I don't have to think about, what diet I'm doing next. Like this is just my lifestyle now. It's a change in how I eat. It's a change in how I associate and my relationship with food. And that has just completely changed my life.
Can you talk real quick for some of my listeners that might not know what a functional medicine doctor is? Could you kind of walk us through that real quick?
Sure. Yeah, good question. So, I find that functional medicine doctors tend to try to get to the root cause of the problem versus sometimes standard traditional doctors are just doing their standard care of practice, which often, not always, you can find good doctors that are not functional necessarily, but typically they tend to just want to write prescriptions. That's what they know how to do. You tell them a symptom, they say, "Oh, well, here's the drug that will fix this." And the problem with that is that you then get into you're taking this medicine and you might end up with a side effect. So you go to the doctor and you're talking about this side effect that you don't realize is a side effect from this medication. So they're prescribing something else. And then you're taking that and you end up with a side effect. And so you're prescribed something else and you end up with this hodgepodge of medications where if you could get to the root cause of what is causing the problem in the first place, that is where you need to get and through what I always like to say is that I like to be a partner with my doctor versus, having my doctor have the mentality of just writing a script. I want to take action and asked my doctor, what can I do instead of what can I take? So that and that Dr. Sears is who I was certified through, and he calls it the pills and skills model of health, which basically means it's not that you just stop taking your pills. You always have to work with your doctor before, even reducing your medications. But as you improve in your skills, and he has an acronym called lifestyle, exercise, attitude, and nutrition that stands for lean. In
Hmm.
those four areas, when you improve those skills, your need for the pills will decrease. And so that's what so many of my clients have found. They start following this lifestyle that I basically created my plan based on what worked for me. And then I was helping friends. You asked how I became a health coach.
Yeah.
Well, I was helping friends for free because they were seeing my results and just asking me what I was doing. So I was telling them what I was doing. They started doing it. They started having success. And it was one of my friends who said, "Well, you ought to look into becoming a certified health coach and do this for a living." And I thought, well, I'm not qualified for that. But
Of course.
it really was perfect timing because she said, you're helping all of us for free anyway. You have lived this. Who better to help people with losing weight than somebody who's been through it themselves and understands the battle that there is mentally, physically, emotionally, everything tied into weight loss. And so I went through the certification process, and that really solidified for me the science behind how to lose weight and how to keep it off, how to make it a lifestyle, and understanding the why behind it. And that's what I tried to then teach my clients is the reasons that we follow. Don't just do what I'm telling you to do, research for yourself and understand and listen to why we're doing these things, and that is what's going to change and make it a lifestyle versus just a diet.
So, how did you though get the mindset of I am worthy of uh, going back to school and becoming certified? Because I'm sure that wasn't an easy task. I don't know what you were doing beforehand, but there had to have been some shift in your mindset for yourself that you finally felt like you drew the line in the sand, like, okay, no, I am ready to help people.
Yeah, I was actually a teacher,
Okay.
and it was at a time when my daughter, who just graduated from UCF, was getting ready to go to UCF. And so we needed some additional income. And one of my friends that I was helping was the administrator at the school where I was a teacher. And so I had had a meeting with her and told her, I said, I'm going to have to probably pick up a second shift of, doing something. I thought of like going to Whole Foods and working there or doing something else. And she was the one who suggested it.
Wow.
And so I looked it up, found Dr. Sears. It was a 6 week program that I took. And they happened to have a class that was starting the coming Monday. So I was looking like on a Friday, and they happened to have one that was starting. So I called, I talked to somebody, I got a hold of the right person. She gave me all the information. And I was like, this just feels like this is right. This is what I should be doing. And so once I started and just got in there and started learning and learning and learning, the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn. And I absolutely loved all 6 weeks of it. And so, in a way, I'm still teaching. So it's kind of cool because my profession didn't change that much, but I'm now teaching adults instead of students, instead of kids. Yeah,
That's that's awesome. So it was almost just like it was an overnight shift almost of
it
Friday
was.
it was 2 nights as a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who supported you in this? Did you other you had friends, but was everybody supporting you? Did you have anybody that was like, are you sure you want to do that?
Honestly, it was really a blessing because my husband was completely supportive. We had no idea what would come from it, but his thought was this can only help. He had seen me change my life, and he had seen me helping to change other people's lives. And so he completely supported me being able to go back and educate myself on this. And then when he saw how much I was enjoying it, he knew I was in the right place. So and then when I got certified, my business, when I first started, I was meeting with people just one-on-one. And that ended up growing so quickly because people were having results. So then they were telling friends who then they had results and they told friends. So it just kind of exponentially blew
Yeah.
up, which is great. But it was too much to handle. And I was still homeschooling my kids part-time. I was the school that I have 4 kids, and they range from 23 to 9 in age. And all of them I homeschooled part-time from preschool through 8th grade. So the days that the way that the school works, it's called a hybrid school. So half of the time they go to school and then half of the time they're home. And so on the days that they were in school, I was the teacher there in class teaching 7th and 8th grade grammar and writing. And then on the days
Wow.
that I wasn't, I was homeschooling them. So, and then I was adding this business on top of it and meeting with clients. And I literally was booked like just nonstop. So I had to figure out a way to coach to a group setting instead of one-on-one. And so I created a Facebook group and created a membership where people pay to be part of the membership. And that in and of itself has been incredible because it's created this community of people who were all on the same journey. We all share recipes. We support one another. Everybody submits their weight to me on Monday mornings, which I chose to keep everyone accountable over the weekends. And, I go live in that group twice a week. And so it has grown phenomenally. And so it's just been neat just seeing the progression of how everything has worked. I look back and I can just see that God's hand was on every aspect of it and continues to be with my business. It's amazing. And just seeing the lives that are changed. And one thing is that I never forced it like my lifestyle on, I've got two kids who have my metabolism. So they have struggled with their weight their whole lives too. Two of them have my husband's, and he's 6'2", weighs 180 pounds, and has since I met him when he was in high school. So he can eat whatever he wants, that type of metabolism. So the two though, who my daughter was the first who started, she saw my results and then she decided to join me. She started having success. So then my son, who struggles with his weight, he used to struggle with anxiety and depression. He was always like manic or depressed, extremes. He's an extremist like I was, an all or nothing type personality. And he saw my results and his sister's results, so he decided to join. Well, he ended up losing 108 pounds, and his mental state is night and day different. So he is so much more even keeled. He's got confidence now. So it's amazing just to see how it's not just about weight and fitting into smaller clothes. That's all exciting and part of it, but it's so much deeper than that. And my parents are another example. They both ended up joining me and joined my group, started following the plan. My dad has now lost 128 pounds. My mom's lost 75 pounds. And they both used to have type 2 diabetes, but they have completely reversed their diabetes and are now within normal. Their A1Cs are 5.3, which is within normal range. So my dad's golfing again, like he's got his life back. And so that's what makes me so passionate about this, is because I'm seeing how lives are changed, not just, that people are. I always tell people we're not in this to become bikini models. We're in this because we want to gain our health back. And I've been able to see that with family members, with over 400 clients now over these past 4 years. So it's been, so fulfilling and so freeing to not have the doom and loom of what am I going to do? How am I going to lose this weight? Being my first thought.
Yeah, and something you mentioned right away when we first started talking is that I'll paraphrase, but you said something about using food as fuel.
Hmm.
And it seems like that just even changing your diet to a fuel-based diet versus a lack of diet, when you first started, you weren't, doesn't sound like you were eating meat or much
Right.
protein. It was, like your first diet was juicing, which is juice. Um, and I'm sure the calories in that were fairly low. I am not a nutritionist, but
Right.
I'm assuming that's why they put you on that diet, was a restrictive calorie diet. And now let's talk about your diet now, because I think you call it keto and beyond, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. My free Facebook group, which I just started this year in February, is called Beyond Keto.
Keto. Yes,
And
keto.
so, yeah, it's a keto style plan, but I had tried traditional keto in the past. And my problem is, being the extremist that I am, I was eating, way too much cheese, for instance. I was making like pizza crusts out of cheese and then putting pepperoni and sausage and all the veggies and then putting more cheese and having like a huge
Delicious.
cheese sandwich. Yeah. And so I lost 19 pounds doing traditional keto in about a month. So it's when I first started it, it was working. But then my extremism took over and I was eating way too much. Anything that I'm given approval for, I tend to want to overeat. So
Okay.
that's where I put some restrictions in place. So I have 5 approved cheeses on my plan, and those are ones that you're not going to typically overeat. You're not going to make pizza crust out of them and stuff like that. So I put restrictions in place that really help to, the other thing is, for instance, traditional keto, you eat a lot of almond flour, coconut flour. All of those are fine to me once you get to your goal and maintenance. But during the weight loss phase, it just opens the door for too much. Like if you go to any of the health food stores, Sprouts or Whole Foods or any of those, and you look at the shelves, it looks like everything's approved. You see keto friendly, and there's keto brownies, and there's keto chips, and there's this and that. But my rule of thumb is and this is a huge difference, is getting rid of those types of processed foods. So I always just flip the box over. I look at the ingredients. If it's got 10 or more, I consider it overly processed, so I won't buy it. If it has almond flour, keto, any of those kind of keto flours, I don't buy it. If it has, and here's the interesting thing though, is that I I make waffles and pancakes and muffins and crackers and bread and all kinds of things, but with no flour at all. What I've found is using golden flaxseed meal. And I don't know if you've ever tried it, but surprisingly, it's delicious. And that's what a lot of my clients have found. I actually created a cookbook called Beyond Keto as well that have the recipes in it I ate while I was losing the 120 pounds and that I still eat today. And it's just been, it's neat to see the transformation when you get rid of, first of all, sugar. That would be my number one tip for anybody who's listening. If you're trying to lose weight, get rid of the sugar. And second, get rid of the processed foods. As much as possible, eat foods in the form that they were created to be eaten. So, and also I include a vegetable with every meal, which I wasn't doing that when I was doing traditional keto. I had gotten into like bacon cheeseburgers and, I was doing all the good fat stuff. And when I say good fat, I wasn't eating avocados and nuts and seeds and olives. That's the type of fat that I try to eat now. So that's another difference between traditional keto and mine. And I made room in the macros to allow for having vegetables because I feel like for it to be a sustainable lifestyle, you've got to be able to include vegetables. I just feel like the phytonutrients are so important. So that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of like a summary of what my plan is it's a keto style plan, but that's why I named it Beyond Keto because it's not a traditional keto.
And how do you help people when they start losing the weight to stay on versus, you said you hold them accountable through the weight, checking their weight, but what else do
Mhm.
you do?
A lot of it is mindset. I feel
Mm.
like that is the key to success. If you could realistically be trying to follow I have what I call my toolkit for success, and it's got 7 simple guidelines to follow. It's got a food list that says either yes, it's approved or no, it's not approved. And then it's got a grocery list just to make it easy. So once somebody joins my group, they are given access to a membership portal where I go in and I explain to them all about, because again, I'm teaching them what the guidelines are, but not just what they are, but why we follow them scientifically. And then I also have a video that teaches how to make it a habit. So for instance, drinking water is one of the guidelines. And I don't just teach you why we need to drink water. I teach you how to make it a habit and little tips and tricks that have helped me to make sure that I get enough water. So, but there's 7 guidelines like that. So in that, once they're in my group on Thursday nights, so Tuesday nights we do like a celebration call where tonight, for instance, we'll be celebrating um, when somebody loses 10 pounds, 20 pounds. I've got someone who just lost 90 pounds. She's kept it off for over a year. Somebody else beat me. She's at 127 pounds. I've got all different, but every 10 pounds we celebrate because I feel like it's important to enjoy the journey and not just focus so much on that end goal that you lose sight of enjoying where you are in the process. So we celebrate that. We celebrate every time somebody gets into a new number group, which means like out of the 240s into the 230s. We celebrate whenever somebody hits 1% of their body weight lost that week. And so that's Tuesday night. Thursday night is when I teach on either a health related topic, like how hormones affect our weight, or how to go to a social event without feeling deprived, how to stay on plan while traveling, different things like that. But I also key in on mindset because, like I said, that is the key is getting your mind in the right place. And I really try to teach, if you make a mistake, don't be like I was with the all or nothing mentality. say you're sitting there with your family orders pizza, you have resisted it, you finally cave and you eat a slice of pizza. In the past, what I would have done was I would say, well, I ate one slice. I might as well eat the rest of it so it's not here tempting to me tomorrow. So I'd finish the pizza.
Yeah, that thought is very familiar. Yes, I understand.
Yeah. And I would think, well, I've already had the pizza, so let me have the garlic knots and I might as well have the brownie. And I would just go on to this spiral. And the problem is that tomorrow would come and I'd say, well, I've got that birthday party coming up this weekend. I want to have the cake. So I'll just wait till Monday. Then Monday would come and for some reason I wouldn't start. So it would be a couple of months of me just going off the rails. That's that one direction I would be going in. So I tell my clients, don't do that. If you eat a slice of pizza, we're all human. It's okay. Make the next best choice. Don't let it cause you to spiral. Don't eat another slice just because you've had one. Put the pizza away, throw the pizza away in the outside garbage without it being in the box, whatever it takes
Yeah,
to get it out so it's not tempting you.
yeah.
Go for a walk, drink some extra water, like make your next best choice right then. Don't wait because that's what I spent my whole life doing was this cycle of spiraling out of control versus being rigidly in control and recognizing that it's okay to make a mistake. We're humans, but get yourself right back on track. And that's where when somebody doesn't submit their weight, if it's only 1 week, I typically give them a week. But then if it's been 2 weeks and they haven't submitted, I'll just send them a nice text and say, hey, I've noticed you haven't submitted your weight in 2 weeks. I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. Because typically when they get silent like that, or they're no longer actively participating in the group, chances are somehow they're spiraling. So I want to be there to grab hold of them and pull them out of that before it gets to where they've put back on their weight. And so just that accountability in addition to teaching them the mindset, that the example of making the next best choice is just one example, but I've got many different sessions on all kinds of topics to help people with their mindset.
That's so important. I know. So we had talked earlier during our pre-call, and I had mentioned to you that I've also been on a health journey. I am going totally extreme with carnivore right now. Not
Oh,
forever, just right now, but I started with the no sugar
good.
and then the no processed foods.
Yeah,
And I tell people now because I've lost about 35 pounds.
good for you.
And thank you. When I tell people what I do or how I find balance, because it's helped me mentally. It wasn't until I got off that stuff that I started the podcast because it's crazy what sugar and processed foods do to your mindset and the anxiety and the should I, shouldn't I? Anyway, so how do I find balance? Well, I cut crap out of my diet.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to hear that. So it's really important to find those people to surround yourself with
Yes.
because it's not a okay, I think it's fun because I've learned that food when you go out to eat, like who made the food, how long has it been sitting there, all these thought processes that I'm sure you've been through now that you're eating so healthy and clean. Yeah, I find it fun, but a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to give up my wine, I don't want to give up my chocolate. And it's like, well, how, okay, well, that's how I did it, so good luck. Like,
Yeah. And that's
so,
the thing too, is I feel like people have to find what works for them that they feel they can do long term,
yeah,
because for me personally, I was a carboholic sugar addict. And so I, though, have found ways to replace things, but in a healthier way. Like you mentioned, chocolate. I make chocolate. I just use coconut oil, which is super good for you. There's so many health benefits to it. It's great for your brain. It can help prevent Alzheimer's disease, like all kinds of things. It increases your metabolism. It's got the
yeah,
medium chain triglycerides, the
good for your
MCTs.
skin and your hair,
Yeah, so
everything.
many benefits. So when I eat chocolate, I'm actually benefiting my body because it's coconut oil, unsweetened cocoa powder, stevia, and salt. It's literally four ingredients. And I just use this little magic bullet and mix it up in there. And then I pour it into ice cube trays and just keep it in my fridge. And the one thing that I'm doing differently too is I don't snack frequently. That's a big difference too, because in the past, I was always taught you have to have breakfast, then you need a snack, and then lunch and snack, and dinner and snack.
Yeah, because you're a
And
teacher. That's like a teacher.
yeah. And once you realize that you don't need to eat that frequently, it's
Yeah.
amazing how freeing it is and how long you actually can go, especially if you're doing carnivore, you can go long periods of time and you don't even really get hungry. Your body will be pulling from your stored fat when you're not taking in food. And so, if I have one of those chocolates, it's in my eating window. It's with my meal. It's not something I just snack on all day. But yeah, congratulations to you. I think that's great. I think carnivore, definitely. And like you said, I did mention, for me personally, I feel like we do need vegetables,
Mhm.
which I'm not sure. Are you doing any kind of vegetables with your carnivore or no?
I just
Are
started adding pickles back in
okay.
randomly, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not as strict as I was. I did it for about 3 months, and now I'm kind of loosening up a little bit. But
Well, that's great that you lost that quick. Congratulations.
yeah, it just kind of fell off. But definitely the sugar detox,
That's tough.
that was tough. And for 10 days I didn't drink coffee. Like I gave up everything, and that really switched my mindset. Again,
Mm,
like you said, you don't need to snack as much, because you're not hungry. You don't get the cravings for the crap anymore.
right.
Yeah. And I don't, like I said, I don't really have a community other than on Facebook. I have like my carnivore community, but I think it's so important what you're doing is it has to be your teacher background. Like when you're like, I have these classes and there's things online for you to teach. So is that kind of how is that helped you, or did you have a coach that was like, okay, you need to put these into classes online and you need to have a group and you need to have a paid group and you should have a cookbook, or has it all kind of just happened organically for you?
Yeah, it's really happened organically. I did hire a coach, a business coach, the beginning of this year, and she was the one who recommended creating the free group, which I had never had that before. So all of my business and the way that it was growing was all just organic word of mouth, but I didn't have anywhere to like send people, one place to put a community of people. And the nice thing is that in that community, I'll do free challenges where I go live every day for 10 days. And over those 10 days, I've had people lose as much as 10 pounds in those 10 days from following what I'm teaching, but I'm giving true value. And I've heard so many times now, and my business coach shares this, like, instead of just giving fluff that's not really going to help people get a result, give them the information they need to have a result. They're going to then want to join your paid group because they're going to see, wow, this is doable. If I wasn't giving them enough information, they wouldn't have a transformation during those challenges to want to join my paid group. And so, just an example, and I just met this lady last night. I have someone in my group named Anne. She joined my free challenge in April. She didn't join my paid group, but did it on her own and lost 32 pounds. She did phenomenal with just the information I gave during the challenge. Then it was my latest challenge that I had in August that she joined, and she decided, you know what, I'm ready to just dive fully in. So she joined my paid group, and now she's like, the weight's just falling off because she's got the rest of the puzzle. She's
Mhm.
got that toolkit for success. But she had the success even without it. So, and there are people who don't end up joining my paid group, but I'm just happy that I'm helping to change lives, whether they're paying me or not, you know. So I love the idea of that free group, and it's grown so quickly. When I started it February 15th, and I'm already at over 1,200 people in the group.
Wow,
So it's
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. It's been neat just to see how that grows. And again, it's because people see results and their friends see it. So then they're asking, well, what are you doing? Now they can say, oh, well, join her free Beyond Keto group. And I've got a free ebook. That was a recommendation from my coach. So some of the stuff that I'm doing now was recommended by my coach, but as far as like creating the Facebook group and doing the teaching in there twice a week, that's what I've been doing all 4 years. And that just happened organically. And then the cookbook really came about because my clients really wanted just an easy way. They had all of the recipes in the paid group, but people like to have something just to be able to open up and flip through and find what they want without having to search online and in a Facebook group. So uh, that was really through their request. And then that has just taken off phenomenally. I sell still today about one every other day. I go in and just check it because it's all done through a publisher. So they do all the shipping and everything. So I really don't see it unless I go in to check. And I'm still selling about every other day. I sell a cookbook. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. How did you find a publisher for that? Like, how did you, I mean, I have just have so many questions, but
Yeah. So that actually was one of my clients who
okay.
sent me, she's like, she heard everybody saying, oh, it'd be great if Rhonda created a cookbook. So she found this company. It's called Create My Cookbook. And they typically are for like people who want to create it for their family recipes. They're not really made for my type of situation where, to resell the cookbooks, but they do have that as an option. And so they've loved it because they actually make more money from my cookbook than I do. But they create, they're the ones producing it. They're the ones who ship it out. They take care of all of that for me. So I don't have inventory. I just have a link that I send if somebody's interested. I send them the link to my cookbook and then create my cookbook takes care of everything from there. So but they've interviewed me and created YouTube videos with me talking about it because they want to start doing more of this now to get people who want to in turn sell their cookbooks. So that's been kind of neat too.
Yeah, they should give you a discount.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what were some of my other questions that I had? Okay, you losing that weight had to been life-changing. What is the biggest thing other than your business and your group and your cookbook? Obviously, that's all huge, but what about personally? What was the biggest difference that you noticed when you lost the weight?
Yeah, there's tons of things. And one thing I recommend to people before they even lose the weight, and this is what I did, is write down how you want to have your life be different once you've lost the weight.
Yeah.
Because if you can have that and be able to go back to it, it is what has helped me over these 4 years to recognize I don't want to go back. Because unfortunately, we just forget. We forget, the grass always seems greener on the other side, and we forget what life used to be like when we were carrying around all this extra weight.
Yeah.
So I wrote down everything from, I wanted to be able to play with my daughter, be able to get on the floor and play with her and get up without being in pain. I can remember being in so much pain whenever I stood up. If we were out to dinner with friends, I would stand when they brought the bill just so I could acclimate myself to the pain because I knew taking that
Wow.
first step would be so hard. And so I wrote that down that I didn't want to have to do that anymore. It affected me socially. I didn't want to go see people. My classmates from high school were getting together and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to see them. And it's sad because I was missing out on life. It was things that I was shirking away from, even when people would come to give me a hug. I was embarrassed because of my back fat. And so when somebody would hug me, I would shirk away because I didn't want them to feel my back fat. I couldn't fit into a hotel towel. I wanted it to be able to close all the way around me. But all these things I wrote down. I can remember going to Universal Studios with my family, and I had to sit in the little test chair to see if I could fit in the roller coaster to make it buckle and I couldn't. And so the rest of my family got to go on this ride while I had to do the walk of shame, out of there because I couldn't fit, going on airplanes and not being able to fit in the seat because of the armrests there, or the seatbelt not fitting without bringing an extender. Like, I mean, all those things. I can remember even going to doctor's offices and not being able to sit down in the waiting room because I couldn't fit between the armrests of the chairs. So but all those things I think I would have forgotten if I hadn't written them down. Because now I get down on the floor and I play with my daughter and I pop up like it's nothing. If we're at a park and a playground and she goes running, I can run and play tag with her. If I'm sitting at a doctor's office, I can sit in any of the chairs. I can sit at a regular table or at a booth instead of having to choose a table because I couldn't fit between the booth and the table before. So, like all those things, though, I probably would have forgotten that that's what life was like for me. And because now it's no longer that way, but I keep that list. It's actually a note on my phone. And I go back to it and I'm just like, thank you that, I now have the freedom from all of this stuff that was affecting me socially, mentally, emotionally. It was, so many different areas of my life. So I highly recommend if anybody's looking to lose weight, take the time and just write down some of the ways that you want life to be different. Going into your closet and being able to fit into any of your clothes, that was one of the things too. I used to have multiple sizes because I kept thinking, oh, maybe someday I'll get back to that. But then I kept all my fat clothes because I knew I'd gain the weight back. And it was this whole, so just those kind of freedoms have been amazing.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's hard when you get, uh, like there's self-esteem, there's self-worth, there's a lot of issues tied into that. So it's
Yeah.
really awesome that you've turned it into such a powerful, uh, I mean, you're a powerful woman. You
Thank
have a
you.
powerful business, you're helping other women who, and men, I'm sure too, probably women and their husbands, most likely,
Right.
if I can read it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's basically it. We do have a couple of men who are actually clients, but a majority of them are women. But a lot of the husbands end up following with the wife,
Yeah.
kind of like my family ended up following along with me, and
Yeah.
they've been successful and been able to lose with their wives. So yeah.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. My son, he's 16. He's lost quite a bit of weight too since I've started losing weight just because the crappy food isn't in the house.
Right.
I mean, it's so, but you have to make that shift for you first. You can't do it for other people. You really have to
Yeah,
want more for yourself and then you can give it to others.
absolutely.
Uh
Yeah.
s- so inspiring to talk to you. So how can people find you online, or how would you prefer people to find you online?
The easiest way is probably through Facebook.
Okay.
If they look me up, I'm Rhonda without an H, so it's Ronda, and then my maiden name is Brightwell Kremske. So, and I will accept friend requests. So if anybody wants to send me a friend request, send me a message in Messenger. I'm happy to chat. Also, joining that free Beyond Keto Facebook group is a great way to just kind of dip your toes in and see if it's a lifestyle. There's tons of recipes in there. There's support, not at the level that there is in the paid group, but there's, like I said, the free challenges, there's success stories, there's recipes, there's tips and all kinds of stuff for weight loss. So either join my free group or just reach out to me personally.
Okay, that's awesome. What's your website?
It's realhealthresolutions.com.
Okay.
So it's a lot of people forget that it's resolutions instead of solutions. So it's realhealthresolutions.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds great. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap things up?
I don't think so. I'll mention too, my ebook is free and it talks a lot
Yeah.
about fasting and the benefits of fasting. It talks about keto and exactly what keto is and the healthier version of keto that we do. It's got a meal plan with 3 days worth of actual recipes with pictures of the food and everything. It has success stories and it's totally free. So that's another resource for people as well. So if anybody wants an ebook, they can just reach out to me. You can just send me a message, say an ebook, and I'll be happy to send it to you.
That's awesome. It just sounds like you just want to help people.
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I've lived it my whole life. So if I can take something that has been my lifelong challenge and use it to help someone else, then I feel like it was all worth it.
100% agreed. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And listeners, thank you so very much for tuning in today. And I look forward to seeing you and hearing from you on the next episode.